Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar tonight about how to start and get your business idea generated in 2017. It's great to have you guys on board. You'll see over on the left-hand side that there's a chat, so feel free to ask any questions as we go. You can see there's already a question there from Richard, and we'll talk about later on register for GC or not and decide. But to get going tonight, I'm going to start by sharing a screen. I have basically the format for tonight is that we're going to go through a PowerPoint presentation, and then then I've got some other information, and then we're going to make an offer to you about ongoing coaching and tonight as well. So I'm going to start by sharing the screen, and I'm going to go to PowerPoint and get that underway tonight. So here we go. So how to launch your business idea in 2017. So my name is Wes Leake from Business Blessings. So the question is, who am I? So my background as an accountant, I have worked in mainly not-for-profit organizations, but then in 2006 switched over to for-profit companies. Since then, one of the key things that I've been doing is currently I have a contract to actually help people start businesses. So over the past 2 years, I've actually helped about 85 different people start businesses from that idea stage into getting them up and going. Some are still working through the ideas, others are out there and making a difference. Different people are on different tracks. So the question is, what is your business idea? What is that idea that's been going around in your brain for a long time that you've been wanting to get up and going? And, you know, it could be some of the types of businesses I've helped people with, like it's from the basics of t-shirts to candle making to scrapbooking, card making to robotics, using robotics in the painting industry. That was an interesting one. Consulting, health and beauty. So whether that be mobile hairdressing to nails or beauty, all sorts of different things, to those wanting to start up their own music teaching business or painting business or cleaning. One of the most successful businesses we've seen is a lady who set up a window cleaning business and now employing over 5 different people. So, you know, your idea may be something that somebody else is already doing. In fact, I want to encourage you to not discount that, because it could be that the difference and the uniqueness is you. So that's there. So think about that. And it could be that, like the window cleaning business, for example, she looked around and saw that actually the current people doing window cleaning in the area weren't doing a great job, and she could see that she could step in with her skill set to improve that as well. And it's turned out to be a really great thing. So whatever your idea is, the key is to provide a quality product and service at a price that the market will buy at. And that's the thing. So what is the quality product or service that you are going to offer to the market? And we're going to go through some of that later on. So one of the things I talked about in advertising tonight is the question of, will it fly? And really the only way that you're going to find that out is to test the market. And we're going to talk about that. The key, though, is to start small and build up. So often people want to go out full guns blazing, set up this massive thing, spend huge amounts of money, or the other thing is spend a lot of time developing the product. But these days you don't need to do that. The key question you need to ask is, can you actually find a customer? And what are the customers out there? And here's a statement for you. Even if the first go sucks, give it a go. In fact, many of my business owners tell their first customer experiences were disasters because they were still learning. but they learned so much from that first experience with customers that they are able to change it and grow their business. And even though they felt like they'd really stuffed up right from the start, that actually was, they look back on it now as one of their greatest learning experiences that they had. So the key is your relationships. So, I am really big on relationships. And this is an interesting quote that I came across from Chris Drucker, who's the author of Virtual Freedom. He says that building a successful business is no longer about B2B or business to business or B2C, business to consumer. It's about P2P, those people to people relationships. And I cannot stress this strongly enough, that the key to growing and developing any business is the relationships with people that you build. So like if I look back over my business life and where our customers are coming from, it is out of relationship. It's either out of relationship with a person and they recommend somebody else to us, or it's about relationship that I've built with someone. And it's amazing that over those relationships you build over time. You know, this is very key, that never discount the relationships you have and where they may go to. I always remember watching a presentation one day about this lady who was starting up an advertising business, and she just started out and she got this phone call to meet with a potential client. Anyhow, she was sitting down and talking to them, and in the end, was one of their first clients. It was a multi-million dollar deal, and she found it. She said, "Who referred you?" And she went back and phoned the person. And he said, "You may not remember me, but about 20 years ago, I was in deep trouble, and a friend of mine said to have lunch with you, and you gave me some great advice, which we implemented and helped save the business." He said, "For 20 years, I've been looking for a way to repay you." And the way he repaid her was with a multi-million dollar advertising contract, because she was studying in the advertising industry. You don't know where the relationships that you have started and formed are going to go. So this it's very key to not burn your bridges with people, and I can't stress that. You know, there are times that you can't always, if something goes wrong in a relationship, mend a relationship, but where as much as possible, go back and mend the relationship, even if it means putting a big boy or big girl pants on and being the first one to take that step to do it, because you never know where that's going to go in the future. Then the next question I've got for you is passion. What are you passionate about? Are you passionate about what you're doing? When you're in business, there's going to be lots of highs and lows, and it is your passion that is going to keep carrying you through in those times. So what are you passionate about doing? And I want to make a mention of this, going back to your key relationships. Like, I had a guy come to me once who was very passionate about computers and things, but you know what? He wasn't a people person whatsoever. In fact, there's times that I could hardly hear him. In fact, I was serving on a board with him, and for a year I had lunch with him on almost a weekly basis just to get to know him. But he came to me wanting to start a business, and I said, "Mate, you know what? Yes, you're passionate about what you're doing," but he was in a very good position in the tax office, and I knew that the customer relationship building part of what he would need to do would be a struggle for him. So I said, "Look, you know, mate, it's better to stay off where you are." So that's something to keep in mind. So next thing is, think ahead 5 years from now. So let's think ahead 5 years from now. Picture this. You're sitting in an airport and someone you haven't seen for a long time comes, taps you on the shoulder, and they ask, "How is life treating you these days?" And you respond, "Amazing. Life can't be any better." And you really mean it. So the question for you is, what's happening in your life 5 years from now that will make you respond like this? And I think this is very key, because there is there's kind of this thing about starting your own business and getting in and getting it on people for freedom. But, you know, it is a hard slog, and I want to be honest with you in doing that. So the question is, what's happening 5 years from now? And is in that process, is what you're wanting to do, does that actually fit in that plan? Or is it just a stepping stone? Because many people in business, like many entrepreneurs, they start with this one idea, they try it out for a little bit, it's not working, then they try something else, and then they go from there. But there's a lot to be said for consistency and staying in the business long term. So where do you want to be 5 years from now? So there's 4 key areas to consider. Think about your family. Where do you want to be family-wise? For some of you, you may be, I don't know where you're at in your family life. You want to get married or get in a relationship. You may have children, or your children could be older. You know, for some of you, like the lady who started the window cleaning business, it was about she wanted to put her kids through a private school. So wanted a business that she could operate during school hours, but also help other mums into business as well. Where do you want to be professionally? Where do you want to be financially? And where do you want to be in your health? They're just 4 areas. Some others consider other areas as well. It may be spiritually, where do you want to be? But think about those. Think about those areas, and think about where does your business idea fit in to what you're doing. The next thing we need to consider is let's look at your history. What are the jobs that you've had, the positions and the volunteer work that you've done? And look at the patterns. What did you like? What didn't you like? What was good? What was your favorite memory? What was bad? The reason why we do this is it's, you know, particularly when you're just starting out and it's just you do everything. It's from cleaning up to sending out emails to answering the mail, picking up the mail. Not that we do much mail, doing the banking, you know, doing the bookkeeping, as well as developing the idea. Now, you may develop a team very quickly by doing that, but what is it that you love doing? And this is one of the things that you may be really great. Like a good friend of mine, he was really good technically at what he does, and just superb at it now, and is using that to create new products that will literally go around the world. But he pretty much, as soon as he started the business, he was off the tools, so to speak, because he was managing staff. He had to deal with accounting and budgeting and stock and inventory, all sorts of issues. And then the customer relationship management, some things he was really good with, some things he was really bad with, but that's the balance. So what is it? What is it that you, in your history, did you like? What didn't you like? And that's some very key things to look at in moving forward. So there's 3 questions to ask for this. What 1 or 2 things seem to motivate you the most about the work that you do? And how much is your answer to number 1 reflected in what you do now? There's some people maybe, you know, something's happening, you're in a dead-end job or whatever it needs to be, so you want to go back to what you're passionate about. So the answer to that is setting up your own business to do that. The other thing is, how can your future business be shaped into one that allows you to enjoy the work and continue to stay motivated? And I think this is very key, is particularly one of the things that we do, one of the other courses that I teach is we look at all the different jobs that you need to do in business. And the question is, what are you passionate about? Where do you fit in to that? And that is very key, because you need to keep developing what you love. There's nothing worse than looking at a pile of paperwork and thinking, you know what, I don't want to do that. I want to go over here and do that. But yet, unless the admin stuff is done, the rest of the stuff doesn't done as well. There's got to be that balance there. You know, I've worked in a lot of Christian ministries, and one of the things we say is administration is ministry, because it allows that to happen. So you need to be able to either do the administration work or have people there to do it for you as well. Okay, next thing, Shark Tank. So a lot of us have seen the Shark Tank show on TV. So what if you were asked to go in the Shark Tank and you came across one of the sharks so to speak, and I ask you this question. You know, I could probably hire someone like you right now to do whatever it is that you're thinking of doing. So why would I be interested in working with you? What makes you so special? And it's this last question that is very key. What makes you special? What makes you special? And that's a very key question to ask, because that's really what's going to set your business apart. Because whether we like it or not, the business owner is the one who sets the tone for the business. Your skill set, your passion, your demeanor, all that really, really is what makes the business special. And you need to answer that question. What sets you apart? Why would people do business with you? Which leads on to the next one. What is your unfair advantage? So what is that skill or asset that you have that nobody else has, or very few others might have in that special niche? So it's different to your unique selling position, which is more about the business itself and how it's different from the rest. So, but it's what is your unfair? What is your skill set? So what are you uniquely gifted in, and what sets you apart? Some of you on the webinar tonight may be thinking, I know exactly what that is. Others may be struggling with that. So one of the exercises you can do is email 10 friends and colleagues and ask them to identify what your superpowers are. So you can go out there, and you might be surprised. I know a friend of mine is doing a 360 evaluation at the moment, and the feedback that's coming back for her is different to what she thought it might be. So how do others see you? And that is very key, because you know, so often in my we call it the imposter syndrome. We may think that we are not as good as what others think, and so it's good to see what others think about ourselves. So next step for you to do is to mind map out what you want to do, and really just like this is a great exercise. Just either get a whiteboard, get some sticky notes. There's a lot of mind mapping programs out there. Just get it down, lay it all out. What is your idea? And keep adding to it. Maybe set specific time aside, maybe doing lots of 10 minutes or 20 minutes and write things down. And then just lay it all down. Get it all down on paper. Get out of this brain and get it down on paper and lay it out. You know, it's amazing what may come out too. And then, like, it's what you want to do. Let all the creativity flow, but then go through and sort it out and put it into areas. What's the product you want to do? What's the service you want to do? And just work through and lay it all out. Then from that, can you clarify your idea? Can you write it in one page or one paragraph or one sentence in one sentence? Can you, this is very key. Part of this, we're not going to talk about pitches tonight, but the idea of the elevator pitch, which I don't know whether you know where it came from. It's the idea that, you know, people had movie scripts that they wanted to present to Hollywood producers. And so often they couldn't get to them because, you know, days gone by, you had all these army of secretaries, couldn't get through. These days, you know, you probably just connect with them on Facebook or LinkedIn or tweet them, however that may be. But they used to have to, they would hide and get in the elevators with people. So between top floor and the bottom floor, they had to do an elevator pitch, clearly state what it is. Can you put that down into one sentence, what you want to do? This is something that I wanted to address too. Not to be afraid of others copying you, because you know what? The difference between you and the next person is your commitment to the idea and your execution. You know, take Simone, that lady who did the window cleaning business. Like, you know what? One of the differences in business today is collaboration. So she wanted to set up a window cleaning business. So she found out that there's a lot of Facebook groups now for window cleaners. So she's involved in it. She actually went to other window cleaners and said, can you teach me what to do? She went to someone who was the other side of town, and he taught her. In fact, now he refers business to her. And she learned so much. She got on YouTube videos and learned all that kind of thing. The difference with her is her execution. Like, you know, there's times where she has to take her kids along with her to see customers. And you know what? Customers like that. It's the family nature of things. So each one of us is unique and different, and you are the missing factor. So not everyone can copy what you're doing because you can't be copied. You can train others what you do, but still the difference is you. Okay, so you think about that, and some people are just afraid to share their idea. But you know what? You will have a different look and a different perspective on it. Next thing to do is to get some feedback. So talk to at least 10 different people about your target idea. Start with those you know, but also reach out to those you don't know. And this is where I'm going to keep talking about putting on big girl, big boy pants and actually going to people and presenting the idea to them. But, present the idea. Don't go, you don't want them to be clouded by what you give to them. So don't give your opinions. Don't sell yourself or your idea short. Ask them for help, and then ask questions and listen to what they have to say and ask good questions. So this is about getting some feedback and getting some good research happening. Maybe like window cleaning. I don't know why I'm talking about it tonight. I wasn't planning on doing that, but it's like go to someone who's getting their window cleaned. So do you like your current window cleaner? What are the issues? What are the problems? Those kind of things. And we'll talk more about that later on. Here's the next one. There's a guy called Kevin Kelly, and he talks about finding true fans. So these are people, someone who purchases anything and everything you produce. There's a statement someone made that to earn $1 million, find 1 million people who will give you $1. But what about finding 1,000 fans you spend $100 a year? That's $100,000. Or maybe 500 fans who will spend $200 a year. Or maybe 100 fans who will spend $1,000 a year. Or maybe 20 fans who will spend $2,000 a year. Whatever, I haven't got that maths worked out. But who are the people who are your true fans? Because you are unique, and we've already touched about that. But there are people out there who will support you because of you. And this again comes back to that whole relationship thing, building that relationship. 3 areas: places, people, and products. So when you're thinking about your customers' places, where are your people located? Where do they go to? Do they play golf? Do they attend a certain country club? Do they shop in a specific area? Do they live in a specific area? So like one of our people coaching has a landscaping business, but they are high-end landscapers. So for those who know Brisbane, like they're people from Hamilton, Ascot, Clayfield, they're Brookfield, Chapel Hill, those kind of places, so that's where the people are located. And then can you define your target audience? So can you tell me exactly what they look like? So in the landscaping case, they're probably people with incomes, I know, 250,000 maybe higher, plus they have a certain standard of home, a certain standard of lifestyle. They're looking for certain things in their home. It may be having a great entertaining area because they're in business and they want people to come around, whatever that is. The next one is products. So look at what they're already buying and see what else might be missing. So have a look and see. And sell to them what they really need, or sell them something that really works. So it may be that, I know you come up with the latest and greatest vacuum cleaner that works differently to the ones that are on the market at the moment. I think someone's recently redeveloped the peg. They've put pegs into the clothesline, and because let's face it, pegs can be a real pain, but in this case they've actually put them in the clothesline. So there's something that there was what people needed, and they work with that as well. So where are your people located? Who are your people, and what product? What are they missing at the moment, or what service what are they already buying, and what may be missing? Okay, so next one, can you describe your customer? So what are the problems that they're facing? What's the language that they use? So this may be the way they talk, the way they interact, how to work with them in that. anecdotes about them? Like, are there any stories that you're hearing people telling you, and what are their needs? I'm really skimming over this, but it's really about getting to know who your customer is and working with them. I think we go on to the next one is the elixir. So what are the problems your customers have and come up with solutions? So let's take accountants as an example. So accountants are really good at looking at historical information. But most business owners, when it comes to to finances, they don't really know or understand their numbers. So it's about being, so there's a real niche in this area for actually to come in and sit down with clients and go through them and explain them to them in a language that they understand, and where you are being proactive rather than reactive, because it's a huge need. So a lot of times people phone the accountant when it's kind of too late and they're not being reactive. Just on that, one of the things that I've implemented recently is, while I have a background in accounting, I have, I have an account myself because one of the areas is taxation, and it was an area I specialized in. So now I've instituted a quarterly meeting with our accountant to sit down and work with them and say, okay, this is what's happened the last quarter. This is what our budget is. This is what our plans is. What's some advice? And actually, it's really been very good for me actually to sit down and do that, because oftentimes, and I have a business coach and things as well. Even though I'm coaching others, I have a coach too, because this is one of the things is that we all have blind spots. We all have areas that we can't see in doing it. So, and your customers are the same. What is it that they don't know that they need? And you may have the answer to that. So this is another key thing, is listen to others, but trust the numbers. So this was I'll give you a prime example of this. We started a podcast about 2-3 years ago that went for a period of time, and actually it looked like it was going to be picked up by a radio station. But and I sent them through different examples of it. But when they looked at it, they said, these are the types of programs that we think you're doing. But then when I actually looked at what they said, but then because with podcasting, you can actually get all the specific numbers of it. When I actually looked at my numbers, the programs that they were recommending had the least number of viewers, least number of listens. The programs that they didn't want were the ones with the highest number of listeners. And it actually taught me that, what, I know and understand, because when you're in radio, like you put stuff out there and you get some feedback, but podcasts, you get kind of immediate feedback. And that's the thing. So you need to be able to look at your numbers. What are actually people buying? And this is where I see some business owners get caught, because like I've sat in meetings and I've heard them say the same story again and again, but people are buying this, people are buying that because we're picking it up. But actually then when I go and look at the sales numbers and look at what people are buying, oftentimes it's different to what they think. Some people, that it's not like that because they have a really good, particularly if you're on the shop floor, so to speak, and you're talking to people, you get to know and understand what's happening. So again, relationship key. Talk to people, but look at the numbers. Look at what are actually people buying. Okay, so one of the things that people talk about these days is validating. So key in any business is customers. If you can't get a customer, then you're not in business. So here's a way to do that. So get in front of the audience. So who are the people that you want to talk to? So let me give you an example. So I had someone rock up to one of my courses one day, and he wanted to start a business there to go to Yetis or Bigfoot, and I had to stop myself from laughing, because I thought, oh, you've got to be kidding. But actually, it was interesting. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. How many people actually follow Bigfoot? So we went into Facebook, and Facebook is really great these days because in essence, it's one of the biggest data mines in the world. So we could go on, and I think it turned out that in Australia there was something like 300,000 people who follow Bigfoot in Australia. I couldn't believe it. So it's amazing. I follow Bigfoot stuff now. It's incredible. So this guy was wanting to put tours together to take people who are interested in Bigfoot to go and tours around different places in the US where there seem to be Bigfoot sightings. So based on an audience of 300,000, he really only needs 10 to 20 people for a tour to make it viable. He does that 2 or 3 times a year. He had a viable business. He only wanted a part-time business. So we could get him in front of the audience to ask. So you can hyper target that. So you can go down and say, really, let's get in and look, drill it down. And you've got the benefit of Facebook or Google ads or those kind of things to do that. Maybe even putting on a webinar such as this. So like we have a webinar tonight of people who are interested in starting their own businesses. So the other thing is interact with them and share your solution. Like tonight, we're giving a lot of information, and we're going to give you the opportunity in a minute. I'll go back in and check to see whether there's any questions or things on there. And if you want to put some questions in, we can do that. So you can interact and share your solution. But then there's a key to actually ask for the transaction. And, there's a great Bible verse that says, you have not because you ask not. Unless you ask for the sale, you're never going to get it. So you've got to ask for the sale. Ask for the sale. Okay, so that's the end of that session there. There's one more session I'll do, but I'm just going to go back and go back in and just check, has anyone got any questions or things that they want to? You can either go into the questions or in the chat session there to do that and have a look. So I think at the moment we don't have any, but if it's there, you can go in and do that. Okay. Next session I want to look at is I really been looking at, actually I need to go back in and share the screen for this. Okay, I'm going to share. Okay, go back to the start. So these are 12 other key areas that, so the other stuff they talked about was really some general principles in getting your idea up and going. But these are some other things that I want to talk about, 12 key areas for you to consider before going to business. So number one, what is your purpose for being in business? And like I say this because, I mean, we all remember the Jerry Maguire movie where he talks about show me the money. A lot of people talk to me, but I'm in business to make money. And yes, but I need to say to you that it is the byproduct of what you're doing. So you really need to have your why. And there's a great TED Talk. If you're not into TED Talks, really get into them. TED Talk by Simon Sinek on starting with why and understanding that. Research shows that if your primary purpose for going into business is money, those businesses tend to fail, as well to others who don't have a clear purpose. So while the making money is a function of being in business, it's not about the real purpose. So what is your purpose for being in business? So again, this comes back to providing a good quality, it could be about changing lives. It could be about like the window cleaning, providing a good window cleaning business, whatever it is, but what is your purpose? Something else I want to get is, do you have skin in the game? And this came from a good friend of mine who has mentored, I think, over 300 odd women in establishing businesses. She said, establishing and running a business takes time, energy, effort, and money. So the question is, what skin are you willing to put in the game to help the business get off the ground and running? So what sacrifices are you prepared to make? What are you prepared to forego? So how are you going to rearrange your family finances? What about your family schedule? Like your family understanding, like tonight, I've said to my family, kids have had questions all afternoon and said, you know what, I need to prepare for this webinar tonight. So there's a balance there to that. One of the things is when you're in a 9-to-5 job, you go to work at a certain time, you come home at a certain time. that may not be the case when you're in a small business or business based up. Sorry, I should never use the word small and business in the same framework. I've been told that because you know what, whether you're a big business or a little business, you're in business. What about change of schooling for your children? Like sometimes you may need to pull your kids out of private school. So to ensure the business has the best chance to possible to succeed. So what skin are you putting in the game? Next one, what product are you or service are you selling? So we talked a bit about this before, but are you clear in what you're actually selling? Yeah, I won't go into all that detail. The next one, and this is an interesting one that sometimes people don't consider, but what is your money worthiness like? So this comes down to what is your own self-image? How do you see yourself? And because if you see yourself as only worth $10 an hour, then you're only going to charge $10 an hour. But let me tell you, $10 an hour is not going to get anywhere. Like you need to be able to sell yourself out at, at whatever that amount is, and stand there and say, like, if you're selling a $10,000 product, you need to know that product that you're selling is worth $10,000. And one of the key things, and we'll talk about in our coaching sessions, we'll take you through this, is actually understanding that you are 100% worthy 100% of the time. And it does boil down to your own belief system. Do you believe in yourself? Because if you don't, then can I say, just stop it right now. Stop it right now. One of the things I suggest you go is to go to zigziglar.com and download their self-talk cards and really build that up. Look at your I am statements, who you are, and to work with that as well. I talk about, understanding how much you're worth per hour. And it's not, there's just a quietness that comes with it. Like I can remember when I was being paid $15 an hour and I thought that was really good. And then we moved to $30 an hour. Wow, that was great. And then we moved to $60 an hour and fantastic. And then I think I went to 120. And then there was a contract and I was being billed at $220 an hour and thinking, I had to step up to that. Wow, I'm worth $220 an hour, and well, now it's well past that. But that's the thing. You've got to come to the grips that you can understand that. Next one is, are you prepared to be the face of the company? And this is an interesting one. I was actually talking to someone the other day who was frightened about. She really needed to do webinar presentations for what she was doing. But she says, no way I'm getting in front of a webinar. And I said, well, you know what, lady? Don't go into business right now. Because the reality is that no matter what, you are the face of the company. And you need to understand that. And whether you like it or not, the buck stops with you. So you need to be prepared for that. And prepared for some of the PR that comes with that as well. Remember the guy, John, I can't think of his name, he started Aussie Home Loans. He... right from the start, someone said to him, you need to do some PR training, and he didn't do it. But then because of some of the stuff he's doing, he was constantly in the media. Okay. We've talked about this before. Can you describe your ideal customer? What does your customer look like? Where they hang out? What are you doing? What are their frustrations, their wants, their aspirations? Next thing, can you delegate? Okay, so this is key. Are you one who thinks I'm the only one who can do this and it has to be done my way? Or can you trust others to delegate to them? Because you're going to have to delegate. You can't do everything. Your business is going to be successful if you can build a team and work with them. So you've got to ask yourself, if you can't delegate, then I'd say, just, well, maybe it could be that you just want the business just you, and that's fine. If that's all it is going to be, just you, then you don't have any issue with this. But if it's going to grow bigger than that, which I dare say it will, because most businesses do, then that would be a key. I'm going to tell you, this is really the biggest buzzword at the moment, is pivoting. So will you be able to pivot when the time is right? And I use the example of McDonald's here. You think about it. Think about going to McDonald's as a kid to going to McDonald's now. So I think about remember as a child going to McDonald's was a big thing. You know, now I think people go every day sometimes. I think my kids want to go every day. But, you know, they had the burgers were all pre-made. They were already there. They just reached across and grabbed what you needed to do. That doesn't happen anymore. Like they introduced coffee shops. They've basically torn down and rebuilt most of the McDonald's that are around today. You won't see an old style McDonald's anymore. It's different. They have, like even later, you know, now they've got the create your own burger. They have to, one of their biggest competitors was Subway. So they had to move away from pre-prepared food to food made fresh. So they actually changed their whole system of making it. So this is key. Are you able to pivot when the time is right? So part of this is, are you so enamored with your product that just the way you want it to be is the way it is, without actually talking to people about it? Because that may be like if you think your idea is going to work one way, but then you go out and talk to customers and they think, no, yep, that's really great, but it has to look this way or that way, and you're not prepared to change for what the customer wants, give up. Okay, so types of pivoting. So zoom in pivot. It was you may have a product like that's this large, but it may be that actually they only want this kind of thing. So could be that I know for accountants, people may just want you to provide BAS, or they may just want you to do whatever it is, ASIC statements, or produce the financial reports, or they don't want you to look at bigger stuff, or zoom out. So maybe like, okay, we actually want you to do a full service, or customer segment pivot. Like this is one of the things I've found too, and some of the things that we've done is where I thought the customer was one thing, it actually changes, so you can change it. So the customer segment pivot, or customer need pivot, or a platform pivot, so it may change. So think about these things. You know, people who used to do radio programs, for example, but now like they do podcasting. So the platform changed, although radio is still a very key thing. But now, you know, like with a podcast, for example, you can access people all around the world, not just people in a certain market. Business architecture pivot, the value capture pivot, engine of growth pivot, channel pivot, technology pivot, all those kind of things. So obviously we're not going into those detail, but there's some of the pivots. So will you be able to pivot when the time is right? And that is very key. In fact, actually, if you read some of the greats in businesses they go through, they talk about, like I remember Mary Kay, for example, Mary Kay Cosmetics, they bought in wigs at one stage and they did all these things with big wigs and all this stuff, but they actually realized that it wasn't part of their market, so it had to change. Next one, do you understand how numbers work? So you really, I don't care who you are, you've got to understand how the numbers work in your business. What are the numbers? Can you read a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, cash flow statements, variance reports, budgets? Key thing, do you understand your break even? Not that we go break even. I mean, break even point is where your income equals your expenses. That's not what we're aiming for in business. We're aiming for income has got to be greater than expenses. So do you know how to do what you need to do to increase your income and while keeping your expenses in track, or regularly reviewing expenses and keeping them down? We've done a whole course on getting your numbers right, which you can access. Next one, understanding cash. My dad was in business growing up, and unfortunately the business failed. And I remember talking to him later on in life and said, Dad, why didn't the business succeed? And he said to me, because I didn't understand the difference between profit and cash flow. The key thing, unless you have cash, your business can't operate. Cash is king. So do you have the right capital start? Can you sustain periods of low cash flow or variances in cash flow? Like we went through this. We had quite good contracts, but one of the contracts put us on a hold for 2 months, which meant that we were going to go without cash for 2 months. What do you do? How do you cope with that? What are your methods of collecting cash from customers? How does that happen? you may need to change. Like, for example, I was talking to someone on Sunday. They're an older couple, and she talked about, the need for someone to do the banking. I said, what do you mean do the banking? I said, like, I can't remember last time I went to the bank to bank cash or bank a check, because it's all done electronically. I said, you need an FPOS machine or other different devices and things that are out there to do those kind of things. So how is your cash physically coming into your business? Like, is it through PayPal? Is it through Stripe? How is that happening? And can you change when the cash comes in so it matches when the cash comes out? So this is one of the key things is, like, we have one of our major contracts, the cash comes in a certain time every month. So I had to look all our expenses and say, you know what? These are occurring at the beginning of the month. This is coming at the end of the month. I need to rearrange those expenses so they no longer occur at the beginning of the month, they occur at the end of the month. And so that took some negotiation, but they're the kind of things you need to do. Next, do you know your legislative requirements? So this is very key. Australia is a regulated environment, and we've just got to understand that. But business.gov.au, go on to, I think it's the ALBIS. You can go on and check in there. What are the regulations that you need for your business? So check those out and have a look at that as an example. What are your taxation requirements, workplace health and safety, food safety? What's the specific things for your business? Because each business is very different and there's different things that you need to comply with. And if you don't comply, I mean, we've just seen that with, the Minister of Health. She didn't comply with things, so she lost a job and those kind of things there. And the last thing I want to say is do unto others that you would have them do unto you. So know the golden rule in business, and that's a great thing to base your business on. Treat others how you would like to be treated yourself, whether that be customers, suppliers, or employers. Remember that all business is about relationships. People do business with those they know, they like, they trust. I'm going to add another one there. They remember. So the extent to how you build relationship with others will depend on the size of the business you build. And that is very key. The extent of how you build relationship with others will depend on the size of the business you build. I know that's been a major theme throughout the night. So we talked about before B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to business to consumer. But the real thing today is P2P, people to people. And your business will only grow as much as you build relationship with people. Okay, so there's some 12 other things there. So I just want to check in. Thanks, guys, for keeping on. If you've got any questions or things there, you can do that. So I hope you've found this very helpful tonight. There's some key things in there that we've discussed about things you need to take into account when you're starting a business, how to validate a business, those kind of things, and then the other 12 key things I talked about. Okay, so the next thing is where to from here. And one of the things is I'm going to send out to you now is one of the things that we're going to look at this year is it's really extension of what we've done in the past. But one of the things I've found in the past is we've done short courses, whether they be 4 weeks, 3 months. But really, when you're starting a business, you need to be with someone for, I think, a minimum of 12 months and to work with that. And particularly these days, you may have a business idea, but you may not have the business acumen. So there's a thing there about the constant need to be trained and have access. So what we're offering this year is a business startup coaching. So it's going to be for a 12-month process. So we're going to start now and finish in December. We're going to run fortnightly teaching sessions that will take you through key areas that what you need to grow and developing ideas. So we're going to look at who is your customer, what can you do for your customer, how does your customer acquire your product, how do you make money off your product, how do you scale your business. But we're also going to bring in various experts along the way as well. So whether that be in Facebook marketing or LinkedIn or how to get your product to market, whatever there may be, it really will be based on the needs of the people in the group as well. We're going to establish a closed Facebook group, especially for you guys. so that, because one of the key things that I've found, it's one thing for me to have input in you, but it's also for the group and the ideas that come together, because you may be going along and you may learn different things. And you know, the best way when you've learned something is to teach somebody else to do that. And that's one of the values of the Facebook group in doing that. The other thing is you have wisdom sessions. So at least once a month, we can have a one-on-one wisdom session with me where we can work through things personally. So that's, and actually I'll be there at any time. So I'll be looking at the Facebook group and helping that out. And if you phone calls, those kind of things will be available for you. The other thing that we do is, one of the great things we do is a thing called a life language profile. So this actually understands who you are and who others are in your team, and we include that as part of the package. And we talk about that because, remember, I talked about the whole thing that business is all about relationship. So it's understanding who you are as a person, how you communicate to others, how you like people to communicate with you as well. So the coaching is going to be $167 per month. Now, our system actually only allows us to put in US dollars, so that is US dollars. So I just want you to make you aware. So it's about $240 a month, somewhere around there. And I know there's going to be some variations in that as the exchange rate happens, but unfortunately that's what our system allows. So we're going to make that available to you now, and encourage you. So we're looking to close this off on the 20th of January. So I want you to start to think about that. Normally, we offer that at actually $297, but we're offering a discounted one tonight to do that and giving you that offer to there. So there we go. So one of the questions that Richard put in here is, do you register for GST or not, and how do you decide? I think the legislative requirements is once you reach the 75,000, you need to register for GST, and then you're registered ongoing. So, but something to think about is, in the early stages, your expenses may be more than your income. So you may actually be getting GST back, because that's one of the things when you register for GST, you get the GST back. But the other side of the coin is it could be a marketing thing as well. So sometimes when people look at it and think, hang on a minute, he's not registered for GST, that means he may be a small business. So there's some psychological things with that as well. But each one has to look at that in their own case as well. Well, there we go. That's the end of the webinar tonight. I hope you found that very helpful. I do look forward to working with you over the next 12 months. We have that offer there of being trained for $167 per month. So just as a recap, that is 2 sessions a month, the closed Facebook group, and also the one-on-one wisdom sessions and things like that. Okay, so Ben, I got your response there. We'll be able to send through this webinar to you so you can have a look at that as well and go for that. Well, thank you guys. It's been great to have you online tonight, and I look forward to talking again.